Brush the floor.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to Rads. Transfer window is done and dusted, and it's been unlike most transfer windows for Nottingham Forest. It's actually been very quiet, but still quite a lot we can talk about. We can talk about whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, and it's been a really interesting approach to the transfer window. I think definitely more of a focus on the future and getting rid of a few players that don't really have a future at Forest. Got 15 people in straight away, so thank you everyone for being here. Kieran in the chat up the Rads, I like that very much. Thanks for being here, mate. Of course, we've got two guests today. We've got Steve. How you doing, Steve?
Okay, Rads? Yeah, not bad, mate. Plenty to talk about.
Yes, absolutely. And Elliot, of course, both regulars on my vlogs, if you watch those. How you doing, Elliot?
I'm okay. Hope everybody on the channel, Rad, Steve, yourself, is doing okay too.
Great. Just apologies for my camera if it's out of focus at times. It's just very temperamental. It will refocus eventually. So yeah, of course, Forest, as of yesterday, hadn't even signed anyone besides re-signing Wayne Hennessy, which is, I don't even fully know if you can count that, but it is a third keeper that came in. But yesterday, in typical deadline fashion, we did see two deals done. One is not actually going to be at the club until at least pre-season. And that, of course, I've made a fancy graphic. That is Tyler Bindon, signed from Reading. And you may think, oh, it's Reading in League One, but he has got some very, very high plaudits from their fans. He's a New Zealand international. Very, very highly spoken about. He's only 20 years of age, as you would have saw there. And he's already captained Reading, played 75 times with them. So that's pretty impressive, isn't it, at 20? What do both of you two think of that? Steve, go first. What do you think of that signing?
Yeah, I've been advocating for a while, Rads, that there's no harm looking in the lower leagues for talent. They are out there. I mean, it's good that we've sent him back. You know, Reading fans they speak highly of him. What I've seen online, they post these video packages on YouTube and so on, the best moments, and he looks pretty decent. What them little snippets they always clip, don't they? But yeah, a lot of Reading fans are speaking highly of him. He's a young boy, 20. You know, Bolly, is he going to re-sign anything? Is he moving on in the summer? You know, we may need his fourth centre-half next year. It is a big ask for next season, but look how young Murillo is. So, you know, I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Murillo, but he could be good backup. What I don't want is a case of we've signed a prospect and then next season, all right, we'll loan him up again for another season. And before you know it, we're halfway through his contract and then we may see him beforehand. I like to see him come through and, you know, these players are gems in the lower leagues and I'd be really happy for him if they came through. Has he had any caps for New Zealand yet? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Or you?
Yeah. He's played
level.
13, played 13 times already.
Okay, they're not like a world dominant force and they don't play massive teams, but still any international level, if it's New Zealand or Brazil, you know, it's a good thing to have in your, you know, cap in your feather. So, or feather in your cap, sorry, said that wrong then. Yeah, so it'd be good. It'd be good. You know, pre-season, see how he goes. He could be a useful asset next year. I mean, if we're in Europe, we're going to need strength and depth. And like I say, with that fourth, you know, if Bolly is going to move on, we are going to need another centre-half. So I'm wishing him the luck, all the best for luck. You know, I hope he can prove something in the summer with Nuno. So, yeah.
Yeah,
promising.
I agree with all that. Do you follow that, Elliot?
Yeah, Steve said everything that I'm probably just going to echo him, really, because there's not really that much I do know about him apart from the YouTube clips that I saw yesterday. But yeah, apart from that, as long as he can contribute to the team, we're all happy.
Yeah. I mean, we mentioned Murillo there. I have seen, I think it was a Forest fan say he's basically the League One Murillo from what I can tell, and I think that's very high praise. And like we say, I mean, he's only 20, which is, nothing really. And he's already played, I actually checked, he's only played one game at youth level for Reading. And he's played 75 times in League One, which at 20, I think that's, it's very impressive. So I think it's definitely one for the future, isn't it? We've loaned him back to Reading, of course, so we're not going to see him until pre-season, and hopefully we do see him, at least see what he can do.
Can I add to that? I think we'll also be taking Reading games a bit more seriously now. We'll check how they're doing in like League One. Has he been playing? Make sure it's not an Andre Santos situation where we didn't play him at all and Chelsea fans went mad at us, if you can remember that. So I'm sure he'll just carry on playing because obviously the boy's got a bright future in him. So I'm going to just keep my eye on Reading.
Yeah,
does anyone else think that maybe Chris Wood has played a part in this as well?
Yeah,
because with the scouting system, I'd like to think that especially being from New Zealand, maybe Chris Wood has gone to the scouting team and said, "Look, this is young lad at Reading. I played with him at international level. You need to look at him." And they sent the scouts out, and the rest is history. There's a connection there. It's a bit random to go down to League One and find a New Zealander centre half where we got a New Zealander in the squad. It just, to me, that just linked there. I know there's scouts everywhere, but just to randomly go to a League One side, and no disrespect to Reading, but you know what I mean? It's it could be a link there as well. So it's good that we've got that. We on about the Brazilian connection. I personally think Chris Wood may have said to the team, "Look, go and look at this kid. There's something about him." So that might be a good sign as well.
Yeah, I think that's definitely likely. I mean, I actually was looking at Bindon's Instagram, and Wood's actually interacted in quite a lot of his posts, so he's clearly knows him. And
I've been calling him Tyler Bindon. It just sounds nicer.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get the pronunciation right, but it is.
It might be
there
Bindon.
could be a link there. Yeah, I think there could be. We've got 3 New Zealanders now, haven't we? That Marco Stamic, who we signed last summer as well. Obviously, he's at Olympiacos on loan. We won't be surprised if he's there. But
he's one of those we're just going to see pre-season and then he just disappears again.
Yeah,
scores a goal against Notts County and then
a bit like Josh Bowler, that sort of player.
But do you know what? This is a good thing, though, that it shows the pyramid is good, and we need to keep this going. And this is why I keep on saying, go to the lower leagues. There's good talent there. Teams are so quick to jump the gun, go abroad, find someone. They come here, they don't settle, they get homesick, they don't like the weather, they don't like the surroundings, so on and so on. I know this kid is from New Zealand, but I would say he's been living in around the Reading area. He's lived here for a while. There's talent down there. You just got to go and find it. I'm so glad Forest now have gone out and found talent in the lower leagues. We can't be snobs and go, do you know what? There's nothing out there. Go looking for it. And if that's through like maybe Chris Woods, go into the scouting team, so be it. We need to go and find talent because we need players to come through because, like I said, Bolly is 34. He's probably going to go. Youth is good. And have a balance as well because, we'd be good next season if he is the fourth choice. You've got Milenkovic, very experienced. Murillo, still young. Morato, in around the mid. Is it Morato mid-20s? I'm not sure of his age. Is he 24?
He is quite young. He looks older than he actually is.
He looks older than he looks about 30, But it's just a good blend, and think how much he could learn off someone like Milenkovic just in pre-season. It'd be unreal for him, And just to step up from League One to Premiership would just be massive for him.
Totally.
Do you think he'll also, if let's say we do get into Europe, do you feel he will probably play like in the League Cup or maybe even like a European game, but in a like when sometimes you hear the word Farmers League or Farmers Club, one of those type of clubs, like give some of the top guys a break and then just like send him in and just see how he does.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, I mean, if we're in I think we all want to be in the Champions League. Ideally, it's like the top of everything. But if we were in like the Conference League, you probably could put him in to those sort of games, because I think some of the sides in the Conference League are worse than League One level, really. So it is entirely plausible we see that. Well, it depends how highly we rate him, whether he can come in and be like, replacing Amadeus, for example, or he is someone we want to develop more. And we've got Zash Abbott as well. Like, it's going to be interesting to see how we play that card now. Whether this is something I was actually going to mention in this stream is without, obviously we've let Amadeus go, and we've got those 4 great centre backs there. But do you think we will potentially trust Abbott to be that 5th centre back if we need him in the league? I think it's unlikely we see him, but I think it is something we've got in mind. Do either of you two think that, Steve?
Well,
or Elliot? Yeah.
Gary Birtle said the other day, like, why don't we play these players and like these, like the B team and reserve league, just see how they get on. It's very rare I watch like the under 23s these days, but I think actually Forest are playing like some kind of like National League channel tonight, but it's very rare I see them. But I don't know why they don't use those games anymore in order to get fitness. Like Taiwo, for example, we really could, do with him getting match fit.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange, isn't it?
I think Zach Abbott needs a loan. I think, because has he really been sent out on loan yet? I'm not.
No,
quote me if I'm wrong.
not.
I don't. Yeah, I think he needs. Yeah, I think maybe like a mid-table championship side be ideal. Championship level, I think he's more than capable of championship. I think a good loan spell will do him good. Because he's definitely one for the future. What I've seen of him, looks very composed. I mean, he spent a lot of time in and around the first team. Nuno sent him on trips, away with the first team and so on. So, yeah, I think a good loan spell would do him good. Because, I think he's definitely one for the future. I would like to see him slip through the net, because he could be playing for another Premier League side in a couple of years and be like, what if? You know what I mean? So, yeah, he's definitely someone to keep an eye on.
Yeah. Well, he played in that League Cup game against Newcastle, and he looked pretty comfortable, against a very high-level opposition. So, I think that's encouraging for him. And I do agree, he is someone that needs to just get some regular football, and he's playing a lot for the youth team, of course. But I do think if we want to use him in the first team going forward, and he needs first team football, really. We've got a fellow YouTube channel in the chat, Door, up the Rads. Hello, Door.
Okay.
Raddad. Anyone recovered from Saturday yet? Yeah, you Reds. I don't think anyone's quite got over it, really, have we?
I was actually about Saturday. I was actually going to come to you to see you on Saturday, but I woke up stupidly late on Saturday morning, about 10:30, and I literally screamed at my alarm. And then it was one of those everything that can go wrong will go wrong things. Turnstile 44 stopped for a bit in the ground, and then I actually got in, sat down, and then we just scored all those goals. I was happy again. So yeah, I have fully recovered, but
well, at least
it was just one of those mornings. And then it was. I had a lot of fun in the nav afterwards with a lot of from the Forest Fan TV guys. They were all there. I was with Matt from Forest All Over. I actually sat with him. So it was good to meet a lot of you new Forest fans. Hopefully I'll get to meet you one day, Steve.
Yeah, at some point. I'll get there one point.
Well, at least everything went right on the pitch, really, didn't it? I mean, we can obviously it's about transfers, but I would be stupid not to mention that Brighton game. I mean, it was quite something, wasn't it?
It was one of those that you'll remember for the rest of your life, really.
Yeah.
I can just say, right, I think for a team who got thumped 5-0 the week before, and I will stick up for Forest, I'm so biased, right? But when it came to it, I just said, right, Bournemouth was far better than us on the day. I had to hold my hand up, right?
Yeah.
But to respond like that, that's unbelievable, because we could have easily lost that game. We could have drew 0-0. We could have scrapped a 1-0 ugly win. But to absolutely demolish Brighton, a good side, that was To be honest, I like over the years, I've never seen a Forest team respond like that after the beating, we've had. So fair play. The team really stepped up.
Yeah.
I think we've also got to bear in mind as well that Bournemouth, they've always got lady luck on their side when they come to us, or we go to them. It's just some weird thing with Bournemouth. Like, do you remember that Willy Bolly, stupid yellow? There was a fact that Sam Surridge got tripped in that promotion season 1. Bournemouth, unfortunately those things happen. They're like the modern day Walsall. They will always just seem to find a way to beat us. But yeah, I totally agree, Steve. The coming back and then just beating Brighton the way we did, I was incredibly impressed with all of them.
Yeah. I don't think you could have asked for a better response, as we say there, to not just, we all wanted just to see the team be at the level that we had been so used to before, obviously, the Bournemouth game, because it was such a drop off. So to see us not just come back to that, but to, like we say, Brighton are no mugs. They're a very established side who, okay, they're going for a bit of a transition seemingly, but they're more than capable of beating any team in the beat Man City. I know City are not what they were right now, but it's still a big coup, that. So, yeah.
Can I just say as well, I'm kind of happy as well, though, because at the time I thought about it, but watching Match of the Day and the more the pundits, Brighton disrespected us on Saturday for that lineup.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did.
Yeah,
Thinking back now, I looked at the lineup and I looked at it and I thought, Hitcherwood, or whatever his name is, in holding midfielder on his own, and they were playing 4 attackers with a striker. And I thought, they sense blood here. Do they think we're an easy picking, say, from last week? All right, they went for it, but it bit them, and I'm so glad it did, because they disrespected us and they thought they were just going to turn up and do what Bournemouth did to us. So I'm kind of glad in a way we rinsed them, because we really took them to the cleaners, didn't we?
Yeah, you've hit it nail on the head there, Steve, because sometimes I have seen teams come up to the City ground with only like half a heart, thinking they'll still beat us 3-0 at a canter. I'm still thinking about Manchester United in December. They just turned up. It looked like they just let's just get this game over with, beat them like 2-3-0 and then just bugger off. We're one of those teams that if you're not serious with us, then we're going to punish you. No doubt about it.
Yeah. No, it is great that we can say that about a Forest side.
I was also going to say, at the same time, if we take our foot off the gas like we did against Southampton, they could easily be one of those sort of potential banana skins. So I just want the intensity and excitement that the Forest team play, even when if it's either against Liverpool or Southampton. Take every single game seriously. I know everyone says we've got a tough run of fixtures coming up, but I think all 14 of these fixtures are coming up are going to be very tough indeed.
But see, against Southampton, we were 3-0 at half time. What made them more dangerous in Brighton is that they got nothing to lose but everything to gain, because they are fighting for their life. But with Brighton, there was a sense of 3-0 half time. Yes, they took 2 of their best players off, and he realised half time, I need to pack that midfield. But in fact, the second half, we scored more goals than we did in the first. So, that Southampton game was just like, Southampton came out, they just threw everything at us. But Brighton, they had a 10-minute spell, but we were just like, nah. See that storm off, and then we just going to ruin it. We're like 4 goals, like bang, 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 bang. It was just like, I couldn't believe I was watching. I was like, well, what is going on with this? Like, this is, especially the 7th goal was like, whoa, this is like, we don't tend to have that kind of luck, do we? Like, how many, remember like, if that was Matt Turner 2 seasons ago, or the season ago, we'd have been like pulling our head out. That keeper did exactly what he was doing. So it's about time we've had that bit of luck on our side, because we were giving away goals like that last season. So, yeah. So that's all I got to say about it.
Speaking of Matt Turner, I was having a discussion the other day with what is the worst kind of Premier League ball you can play, and we came up with Russell Martin ball, but with Matt Turner in goal, Could you imagine that? That would be the worst Premier League football ever.
You'll probably have the worst goal difference ever as well. What we conceded.
Yeah. Thinking of a way to make Southampton more vulnerable, put Matt Turner in goal. I think that is actually it, isn't it? Yeah, I do agree with that. I think, you know, Southampton, the way we kind of very nearly threw that away, I do think that was also on our mind as well. Not only responding to Bournemouth, but we're 3-0 up at half time again, which has happened 2 games in a row at home. We don't want the same thing to happen, and it certainly didn't. We absolutely, you know, what the mat really. And I think we all thought we could have got a few more against Southampton, but obviously not.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, if that game goes to 4-1 with a disallowed goal, I truly believe we would have won that 5 or 6-1 because Southampton heads would have. The momentum they gained from that disallowed goal with Milenkovic, they gained momentum from that. They thought there was something in the game for them then. They pushed on again. But with the Brighton just completely looked. Once they had that 10-minute spell in the second half, they weren't getting past our wall. They realised we're not going to score you, and then we just picked them off, didn't we?
Yeah. That's a good point.
And I got to say, Lewis Dunk does not like playing at the City Ground, does he?
No.
I always try. I don't rate him as a defender anyway, right? I don't see anything in him. I personally don't see it, right? But Alanga absolutely tore him to shreds on Saturday. Absolutely tore him to shreds.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got a few comments here. No game's guaranteed. How it looks on paper is irrelevant. How it goes on the pitch. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, no one saw that coming against Brighton, did we? Brighton were tactically clueless. Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Rads, I know you're holding the question, but this is one topic I like to throw up then, which I would imagine you want to talk about. So, it throws up the striker options, right? Now, if you would you think then, if we had another option up top, and this is a Taiwo debate, if we brought that striker on Saturday, could we have had more goals? So I like to throw it out there about the striker. I'm sure you want to bring it up. Do you feel we should have signed another striker in this window? Me, personally, yes. That's my opinion. You guys can talk about it now. I'll give my opinion then. But I just want to throw the topic out there.
Okay, so so on that, what we're kind of asking for in this transfer window was somebody better than Taiwo, but is a bench option to Chris Wood. That is going to be a very sort of difficult thing to say. I agree with you. It would have been nice to actually get another striker in, but if it was to happen, we'd probably have to look in the South American route again, like a hungry young kid, you know, like a Murillo Danilo type, but as a number 9. So again, a striker would be nice, but at the same time, everyone's looking for a striker these days. It's a very sort of hard ask to get, particularly if you're a bench option to Chris Wood.
Yeah, I mean, not just a striker in form, but he is statistically performing as good as some of the very best strikers in the Premier League right now. There was a chart on Sky Sports last night that literally showed you him against the likes of Aguero and Vardy in that, you know, title-winning season. Yaya Toure was on there. Players like Thierry Henry. He was in this sort of category, and this is, you know, that's nothing to be sniffed at. So, yeah, I do agree. I do think we should have signed a striker. I was going to bring it up pretty soon, but I do think this does pose another question whether we can handle it now without that 9 that came in, because I do think with the Wally, there is a player there that we know does have it in him, but we haven't seen it consistently for about a year. So it does pose the question that a lot of people have said, you know, if we didn't have Wood for a couple of games, would that affect us like badly to the point where we might go on a bit of a run that isn't great? Or do you think Taiwo could step up?
Yes. Yeah, I still believe there is that player in there. We all seem to forget that if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't even be in the Premier League, because that run of form he did during the Steve Cooper years, his goals kept us in this league. And there's also the fact that there were a few Premier League teams that are still after Taiwo Wanyi this January. So if we are going to get somebody like completely different to Chris Wood, it would be Taiwo. I'm still just a huge fan of his, and I hope like one day you can get back up to scratch again, because there was a time where like Chelsea and Arsenal were after him as well during his absolute prime. He's just been really unfortunate with injuries.
Yeah, that's it really. We know it's frustrating here. Like even having a third option in general would have been maybe okay, even if they were both in form. But if they were both performing like Awani, I don't think we'd really be too concerned about having this conversation about having another striker. But it is frustrating that we've got someone there that we've seen perform at times as well as Chris Wood is doing right now. And for a long time was above Chris Wood. But it's been, you know, probably as tough as it could have been for Taiwo. But our hope is, you know, that if he had to play regularly, at the end of the day, he's only really coming on for like 10 minutes now in games, and it is difficult to really like probably have an impact on games. And even in that Brighton game, he had that shot that led to the 6th goal, and he did look quite sharp. So it is just, I think, a lack of minutes and a lack of luck really for Taiwo. I mean,
we'll also have to see how he plays against Exeter as well next week, because he's definitely going to start that.
Yeah, definitely.
If I was Anthony Elanga as well, I would be learning from Chris Wood as well. Like if push came to shove, like Anthony Elanga, could he possibly play the 9? And if he was to do it, there's no better to learn from than Chris Wood.
Yeah, I mean he worked well, didn't he, in a 2 against Brighton? So I think he's got it in him to maybe not as a sole striker, but in a 2, I think he can definitely do it. I mean, you brought the question up, of course, Steve. I mean, have you got anything to add on this about Taiwo? Or
I think, and I agree with Elliot, without Taiwo's goals, probably won't be on this discussion now, right? But I think and I do sympathise with him on one hand that he got injured a lot. He hasn't been quite the same. I know his goals have dried up. He's been unfortunate as well that Chris Wood's just become like Haaland. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. So that's gone against him. But then also it's worked in our favour, because if Chris Wood hadn't hit that form, we'd be really screwed now. Because if Taiwo was injured all the time and Chris Wood was the Chris Wood who we thought we signed, because when we signed him, a lot of people, probably people watching the show now, doubted him. And we were like, what have we gone and done? Right?
Yeah.
Now, I wouldn't hand up and say, I was like, oh, now I knew we had a good record prior at Burnley, Leicester, and so on. But when we signed him, he literally couldn't do anything right, could he? And we were like, what have we done? And we spent 50 million on him and blah, blah, blah. And next thing, Nuno comes in, bang, the hat-trick in Newcastle, and he hasn't looked back since. And so Taiwo's probably sitting there going, wow, 1 minute I'm banging in goals, I'm the main guy. Next thing, I've got my leg in a plaster, I'm on crutches, I get fit, and then the striker in front of me, who is in his 30s, is scoring 17 goals in one season, just behind Salah. You know, he must be going, wow, what am I, you know, it's good for the team, but what have I got to do now to get back in? Now, for ability, I think we just needed something extra up top, something slightly different. And I mentioned this many times. We just needed something slightly different. I agree with Elliot. Sometimes it's very hard in the January window to go out and find that player. But just remember back, we turned our nose up to that Egyptian that's just gone to Man City. Now, I don't know if we did, but I was one reading into it that we were like, we didn't want to take the risk. But obviously, Man City have gone and taken the risk, so maybe we missed a trick there. But like, I can't think of names off the top of my head, you know, to think, oh, we could have signed him or we could have gone for him. But I just feel maybe it's just something up top, because I'm just a bit worried, Rads, that if Wood, I'm praying he doesn't get injured, but he needs a rest sometimes. But Taiwo just is not there at the moment. He's just not doing it for me. He did look sharp when he came on Saturday, but Elliot's made a very good point. He needs to have a good game against Exeter. because that's no disrespect to League One side. Because I went up to the Luton game, I watched that live, and Taiwo, he showed glimpses of the old Taiwo, but he just weren't at it. And that's against Luton. No, against Exeter away, it'll be a tough pitch. It'll be in a hostile environment, but he needs to do something in that game. He needs to do something, because if he struggles in that, I'm going to really be worried if something happens to Wood, because we're in a position now we can't mess this up. And there's a lot of pressure on him, to put him in and say, right, Taiwo, you need to pick up now where you left off last season or whenever it was, and pick up where Chris Wood's left, where you let off. So I'm like a bit worried. That's all I'm saying. It's just I'm praying nothing happens to Wood, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. Clearly is someone there that we know has it in him. We're just all hoping that he can find that form again if he had.
Because he shows he can play wingers, because he was at his best with Johnson running down the wing, and how many times did Johnson whip that ball in and he was there? So we know he's got it in him. It's with Alanga or Addison-Odoi, he's whipping that ball in. He can get on in the crosses. But it's just his overall play. Sometimes I feel he can't trap the ball gets away from him, he kind of loses it, he kind of gets out muscled a bit, even though he's a big lad. It's just he's not filling me with confidence anymore. That extra game is massive for him. If he can get through that game and maybe get a couple of goals, he'll build his confidence up then.
Yeah.
Which is kind of odd, because if you actually if you look up Steve Cooper's Premier League games and just look up their wins, you'll see that Taiwo has been in the majority of those wins. But yeah, I kind of agree under Nuno. Does he work better in a different formation than a 4-2-3-1? We don't quite know. So yeah, that's a great point there, Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Taiwo was like, clearly Cooper knew how to play him, and I've always said that I just felt that Steve Cooper didn't really know how to work Chris Wood, but Nuno's come in and it's worked the opposite way, where it almost feels like he can get the best out of Chris Wood and he can't quite get the best out of Taiwo. I know injuries aside, but just weird how, like you touched on then about formations, the way we play, is Taiwo more set up under the Steve Cooper tactic than more of the counter-attacking than we are now? You know what I mean? It's kind of like, yes, it's a good point you made then about the formation, and some players just suit under different styles. That's the way it is.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about it, like, if obviously the different players, Wood and Taiwo, but would Taiwo have made the runs that Wood made for those goals that he got against Brighton? Being right near the goal mouth to be there to head it in and to tap it in. Because sometimes, like a prime example, I thought at the end of that Southampton game when Murillo was charging forward, you can see Awani was just not really running at all. He was just jogging. And again, look, maybe that's down to his fitness, but if that was Chris Wood, I don't think Chris would be doing that. So yeah, he clearly still is lacking that natural fitness. But I suppose if he did have to play like 90 minutes every week, in time he could probably get that sharpness. But he's going to find that difficult with someone as prolific as Chris Wood ahead of him. So yeah, I mean, if either you two got anything else to add on striker, or is that have we covered everything?
I think we have covered everything that sort of needs to be said. We didn't get a striker this January window, but then again, quite a lot of teams didn't.
Yeah,
good point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, to be fair, we technically have signed a forward, but I don't think he's going to really feature all that much. Of course, very late on in the window yesterday, we saw Joel and Daza, I think that's how you say it.
Yeah.
He came in 18 years of age. He was at PSV the first half of this season. As you see there, he had 12 games for them, 1 goal. He's only 18, of course. I see this one as possibly a bit like Rodrigo Ribeiro, that sort of player that's not really going to play that much. Or maybe even more like Moreira, obviously a different position, but he's in and around the first team, but might not make the old game. I don't really think he's going to come into the first team much, but at least there's an option there potentially. He has actually played for England at youth level as well, just to say, and on loan from Man City with a $4 million buy option. So clearly have intention to keep him. Do either of you seen anything about him? Because I'm not all that knowledgeable on him.
Everyone pretended they did at 11 o'clock, but really we didn't know that much about him, did we? Come on. But but again, from doing the research on today's pod, from what I've seen, did really well at the England Youth World Cup. Can again learn off the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi and Antti Elanga. Yeah, I'm very happy with the signing. It's just a case of, you're right, this could just basically be like another sort of future prospect.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, well, the way I look at it is, I mean, you look at these League Cup games, FA Cup games. Why can't we put them in against Exeter? I really don't see, I know it's not disrespecting the FA Cup or League Cup or whatever. The cup competitions, you can blood these players. Look at Liverpool, right? Liverpool do it. Man City do it. Even Chelsea do it. I mean, why can't we take him to Exeter next week? And do you know what? You might learn a lot off that. Go into like a place like Exeter, right, on a cold Tuesday night in February. Again, like I said, playing in an hostile environment, close, tight pitch. That's where players will learn. And Nuno might learn a lot off him, even from just one game, and go, oh, this kid's got something about him. And put him in, even if you put him on the bench. And then obviously he's not going to be ready for, league and so on. But just use these players in the league, in the cup, sorry. Why not? Play him. Try him. You never know.
Do you mean starting him or a bench
option? Bench option. Maybe, I like to think that we're going to win next week, right? I know you can't take nothing for granted in the FA Cup, but say we win in 2-0 half time, 70 minutes, bring him on.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to saying, you see these games and Liverpool will throw on an 18-year-old kid. I was watching the game of the day. I'm not one of the top sides. This kid came on like 17-year-old. It was one of the cups it was. Why can't we do that? Just do it. Put him in. And then, right, okay, we can see him for 20 minutes cameo. Oh, this kid's got something about him, And also, he's playing at a decent standard then, in a good side. And he'll gain confidence for that, because I don't think he's going to learn a lot just by sticking him straight in the academy. And you touched on it earlier, Elliot, is that these games, we're on about the senior players getting time, right, playing with the Bs or the reserves. Why can't the reserves jump up then into these other... So that's the way I look at it anyway. I personally would take him, and even if we just bring him on for 20 minutes, at least we get to see a bit of, oh, this kid's got something about him. Going by the videos, he looks very quick. He's an out-and-out winger, so why not?
Yeah, I do. I mean, someone's made a comment here about the Youth Academy, Hassan. We should be backing our Youth Academy more. We were in the FA Youth Cup final a couple of seasons ago. Yeah. I mean, we mentioned Zash Abbott. We are clearly, keeping him in and around the first team, which I do like to see. We know we can develop players. Obviously, Ryan Yates is prime example. So I do think we keep that in mind. And I saw a good point made by someone else earlier today about, our youth team. We've actually loaned out a lot of our forwards like Asapra Song and Joe Gardner, Dale Taylor. So that might be why we brought them in, just for him to play that sort of role. But I do think, against Exeter, for example, at the very least, let's just put him on the bench and have him as an option. So I think that's, maybe it's just insurance really, if we need that option in attack, to something different. So I like it. This, as I said at the start, I think this whole window, okay, we didn't bring in a striker, but we have clearly thought about the future a lot more. We've not panic buyed and just got a striker in last minute. It won't be what we need. We've thought about the future, like with obviously Tyler Bindon and obviously this Man City guy, and I need to get his name right, Joel and Dalla, I think it is. So yeah, and not to even mention, we were linked with a couple of other young lads. We were linked with a young winger from Plymouth, a 16-year-old from Aberdeen. So we were clearly really thinking about that. Yeah. Have you got anything else to add there, Steve, or is you just?
No, it's just it's good. It's just good that we're looking at youngsters. I'm going to go on record to say, come back to the striker thing. This summer, I think Baranakis will put his hand in his pocket and go, right, we're in Europe, being if it's Champions League or Europa, let's go and get a. I'm not saying we're going to spend 80, 90 million, but let's go and buy a top striker to take us with Wood to that next level, because we need it. We will need it in Europe. We will not be able to survive in Europe with Wood and Taiwo. And even if that means if Taiwo stays, he might move on in the summer. So I think the striker is going to be the priority in the summer. I think and I agree with you, Rads. I don't like panic buys. I know the Egyptian that's just gone to Man City. We all said, that could have been a panic buy, blah, blah. But this summer, I think they're really going to say, right, I want a top striker.
Yeah. I mean, I do look forward to seeing Marinakis with, European ambitions, actually being in Europe with us, seeing the level that he's going to go to. Yeah.
Can I just put a name out there? Right, only because he's played under Nuno before. How would you take the guy from Fulham, Jimenez?
Yes. Yeah, Fulham are doing all right at the moment, aren't they? So yes,
is he like 20s? Is he mid to late 20s now? He played in the Nuno. Did he play? He did play in the Nuno at Wolves, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Would that be someone? I mean, I'm not saying where Fulham will end up. Say they end up mid-table within Europe. Is it worth a punt? I don't know. And he's a slightly different option as well to Wood. That might be someone I personally would take him. I just thought the other day he could be someone. He's worked with Nuno before. He might be a shout.
No, I mean, he's always been very prolific. I know he had that bad injury at Wolves towards the end, but he was, a beast at Wolves at times, and he's been great for Fulham. So I'd take him as an option, especially.
Speaking of Wolves, I would actually go back in for Kuna. I just want to take, because of the vile stuff they've sang to Morgan Gibbs White, I just want to take all their precious things and send them down. I'm that evil.
Yeah. I'm
surprised no one's mentioned Neves as well. I know he's at Saudi and a lot of money, but again, he's someone that's centre midfield experience. He's class on the ball. He's played under Nuno.
Yeah,
he would take it. He's a great player. He would take us to another level as well. Everyone goes on about Douglas Luiz, but again, Neves a bit older, but that player on the ball. Can you imagine his experience in Europe as well? I think he'd be top notch as well.
I'd really like that signing. Someone like that. But Neves, I've always been a big fan of him.
Maybe Marinakis. You're right. Maybe Marinakis will put his hands in his pocket and say, "Yeah, I want this guy." Okay, well, how much can we get for him? I trust. I know it's team these days.
I know it's very hard to entice players back from Saudi now with the money they're earning, but there has been shown players are leaving there. They've realised, this standard isn't great. So you never know. I'm just throwing names out there. I know there's a lot of Wolves connections here, but I'm just thinking of the quality of player that he's worked with before that would slot in, like we've on about the number 6 role, we're on about the striker. These kind of names would, enhance our squad.
Yeah. I'm actually surprised we haven't been linked with more players that Nuno's worked with before at Wolves. Obviously, there is Morgan and there is Bolly, of course, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past us to do that at all.
Ideally, as well, we'd love Diego Jota so he can stop scoring against us.
Oh, that would be nice, wouldn't it? It would, because he's a menace against us every time. Just briefly want to look at some comments. Anthony, thank you for a donation. Thank you for your videos. I look forward to seeing them. Keep the bad Raddad jokes coming. I don't think my dad's going to be too appreciative of that comment. But
is that going to be your dad's stand-up name, Bad Raddad?
I mean, maybe. Yeah. saw someone else actually mention earlier is under pressure joke of the weekend. You have to go and watch it if you really want to listen to his standard of humour. Just looking at some of the comments. Cooper got the best out of Awani, and same with Nuno with Wood. He made us never suit Nuno's style of play. Yeah, that's what we were saying earlier, isn't it? You know, it's a bit difficult to know, but hopefully, we do see Taiwo just get a couple of goals under his belt. This transfer window has been boring, but how can you improve on perfection? I mean, yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, I suppose. And we've all been talking about, keeping that squad harmony together, and I think that was a really big focus of the window for sure.
What we've about this window, by the way, have you just noticed the last 2 January windows have just been oddly quiet? Obviously last year the Premier League toyed with us and Everton on points deductions to potentially fabricate a relegation battle, but everyone was like, "Oh, maybe we shouldn't sign other players." I think the January windows these days are they're for managers who have just come through the door because they've been next manager's been sacked around November time, and potentially get the loan with option to buy is very, very popular these days. So the January window is more or less these days about this, just strengthening your squad a bit. But the main transfer windows this year are definitely the summer, and we did rather well this summer, don't you think?
Yeah,
extremely. Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see what we do this time with increasing. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
No, sorry, Brad. Go on. I'll make my point then about.
I was just going to say that it's going to be particularly interesting, with likely European football right now to see what we do in the transfer window. But yeah.
And I think just pick up on Elliot's point about the January transfer window. It's not just about the PSR and all that financial fair play. It's also signing players now. It's say with Forest now, right? We're not going to get players from anyone in the top half because they're not going to sell to a rival. And it's also same with other clubs on the bottom. Southampton, Southampton, what's that midfielder who smashed Gibbs White? Flynn Downs.
Flynn Downs, yeah.
He was linked with Ipswich on the last day yesterday. There's no way Southampton are going to sell him to Ipswich. Even though Southampton are down, they're not going to sell him to a rival. And that's the thing. Football is worth so much money now, and especially January. Every notice, a lot of transfers are coming from abroad. Yeah, they'll go and buy players from, you know what I mean? You will hardly ever see much transactions now between English clubs because they don't want to sell to their rivals. In the summer, it's a bit more of a dog-eat-dog because contracts expiring, players want to move on, there's the pre-season, managers want to get players in early, that kind of thing, into the last year of the contract. But in the January window, it's so hard to sign players, especially from club to club. They don't want to sell.
Yeah.
Why would... I know Wolves are not, down the bottom way up the top, but do they really want to sell to another Premiership club? Could end up going to a Spanish club or Saudi or whatever. They don't want to strengthen Arsenal. They especially don't want to strengthen us at the moment. So it's very hard to sign players in this window. It's one of the hardest windows. And I think this is why you start to see quieter windows, not only because of the money spent, is because teams just don't want to do business.
Yeah, on that as well. Obviously, one of our main star boys is Murillo, and I would be absolutely gutted if we do actually sell him to an English club, potentially a rival of ours. If we are to sell him, I'd love it if he goes to a Barcelona or Real Madrid. It would just not be right for him to go to another English club.
Well, apparently Chelsea wanted him, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. They've just got rid of Disasi to Aston Villa on loan. I think they've got enough defenders as it is, but yeah, Murillo is the star boy everybody wants at the moment.
But I've noticed Gibbs White as well. He's been touted for Arsenal, Liverpool. I would hate to see him going to one of them clubs. I know potentially. But again, if we keep on the momentum we go, he's not going to leave for a good couple of seasons. You know, we may have to really fall off a cliff, and Gibbs Whitehead will turn then to another club. But I'm the same as you. I hate it, you know, if these players go to another English club. It's just it's just something about it that you feel like when they go abroad, you don't feel as bad because they're going abroad. But when they go to another English club, you're like, oh, this doesn't sit well with me. Especially when it's one of your top players, like a Gibbs White, Murillo, even a Milenkovic, who's been linked with Newcastle and Man United and so on. It's like, no, it's like, you know, this is what I don't like about this whole PSR thing is, you know, why is it fair we can't develop them where Arsenal or Liverpool go, oh, they're pretty good there, we'll have them, thank you. It strengthens them, but we get left behind. You know what I mean? So, yes, that's another discussion anyway. That's, you know, PSR is, you know, there's pros and cons to it. So,
can I just add about Morgan, by the way? These days, it's more or less his team in a way. He's like the star boy, talismanic guy. But you also see when we play at the City Ground against Manchester City or Liverpool, he's got absolutely no fear. He thinks he's actually better than some of these players he's up against with Manchester City and Liverpool, and we actually need that in our squad. So. Like, it's just a pleasure to watch the likes of Murillo and Morgan Gibbs White play for us live. I pay my money to watch them, and they always astound me. My mouth always drops open sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, Gibbs White, particularly against Brighton, was outstanding. You know, he just owned the pitch, he owned that game. A bit like, I mean, even Gibbs White, whenever he doesn't have the greatest game, he's still very effective, and I think that's why he's so good and so important to us. And
can I just add on? Can I just add on January as well? We have got 2 players that we were without for a few months, and that was Sangare and Danilo. And I've had a few. Some people need to give their head a wobble on Sangare. The guy gave up Champions League football to come to us. Like, I'm still a huge fan of his, and I still believe that he will come good long term, particularly with Danilo in the 2, which was going to be the starting pair against Bournemouth. So we've got those 2 back as well in midfield. So, and also if they don't perform fine, we've got the likes of Dominguez and Yates to actually come in as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Steve, you're going to say something.
No, it's fine. Yeah, it's just to add on. The Gibbs White comment is he's going to be the player who I feel, you know, one day he'd eventually go. All players move on. I think he's going to be a big money asset for us, and he could be the type. It could be the type of money where we reinvest into the team. We could end up buying 2 or 3 players out of that money. Obviously, I want to see a good couple of more seasons with Gibbs White. But again, it's what like level he goes to then, because you got to look at it at the moment. Going to Man United, that's not a level. That's a level below us now. Why, you know, he's going to a struggling team. Spurs, you know, where do you start with them? Possibly Villa, but Villa are, you know, they are a big club. They are doing well, but I would say
they've also got Morgan Rogers, so I think they'll be fine.
They'd be fine. But to me, then that only leaves for Gibbs White, Liverpool or Arsenal. Chelsea would ruin him because he just get lost in the shuffle, like every other Chelsea player does eventually. So I think it only leaves Liverpool and Arsenal, and I think that's the only 2 clubs could really sniff him out of us, to be honest with you. So it's just, you know, it's a mad dilemma to have that. You know, it's kind of like, wow, it's, you know, these players are worth so much money. Do you cash in on them, or do you take the money? Do you keep on? You know, look at the money that Brighton turned down this window from Matoma. Was it 94 million or something it was from Saudi? Fair play to them. Fair play to Brighton. You know, they are a really well run club. But look how much. But then they looked at it like this: if they had sold him so late in the window, what are they going to do with 94 million pounds? They can't spend it now, and they'd have to reinvest that in the summer. So they've lost their best player for the last 4 months of the season. So fair play to them. You know, and that's why in the future we may have to resist offers like that. You know, because look at the player just left Villa now, Duran, for, was it £77 million? You know, if someone comes in from Saudi for Gibbs White or Hudson Odoi or Alanga, that's what frightens me. You know, the players don't turn that kind of money down, do they?
No. I mean, yeah, I agree with that completely. It is sad when you see those sort of deals come up, though. You know, Saudi overtaken, but like you say, I mean, 94 million for a Brighton player is crazy. I mean, as good as they can be, you know, it's still mad money. But what would they do with it right now is the question. I've not even mentioned this player yet, but Emmanuel Dennis, of course, has gone on loan to Blackburn. So I was saying, do you think we could recall him if we had a striker injury? I think it's pretty unlikely, to be fair. I don't think we couldn't record him, could we? Because he's already gone out on loan. But I mean, I see a lot of people saying there is a player still in there in Dennis, and I do think there is a player in him. But I think especially where the level we're at right now, I think it's I don't see a way back for him personally. If either of you two got anything to say on that one, or
no.
Yeah, that sums it up, really, doesn't it? Well, being as you brought it up, actually, Danilo and Sangara, I wanted to mention those two because you know, Danilo coming back in against Brighton and looking so comfortable on the ball and being brilliant, really, and then Sangara, it is pretty much like two new signings. So we say we haven't signed any first team players, but I do think those two are all but like that because they've been out for such a long time. But I suppose the question is, how do you see those two fitting in because of how well Morgan's played, and obviously Elliot Anderson is incredible. Dominguez and Yates have done a fantastic job all season. It's a great problem to have. Yeah, it's a very nice problem, but who do you think is going to be maybe the one that gets pushed out? Do you think one of them can come in? I think Danilo has already shown that he's very much in Nuno's thinking, really.
Okay, so on the Sangare point, obviously, of course, he had malaria when he first came to Steve Cooper, and I've never had malaria, but I'm sure it's really, really nasty. And I don't know if you guys saw the AFCON when he had that horrific challenge with Sadio Mane. The guy pretty much like took him out, and yeah, he was a bit. Yeah. It was a bit stop-start. I think he's just been really unlucky because obviously, of course, when he came in August, he had the most interceptions in the league, and that's the kind of thing we do. I agree with a few points of saying like Sangare is not good enough, and that's fine. But we've also had the likes of Ben Watson and Jack Colback, who we wrote off back in the Championship. They came in and did a good job for us. So it's one of those things where if Sangare does get up to match speeds, again, if it doesn't work, then there are other midfielders that will come in. Danilo, obviously, of course, was incredible on Saturday. I was really, really impressed with him. So that's my take on those two. So if it doesn't work, fine, we'll move them on, but let's not write them off too quickly.
Yeah. I've got a couple of people saying Danilo and Anderson behind Gibbs White, Hudson Odoi, Langer and Wood. I think.
Well, those two worked in a direct 5. Those two worked in a 3 against Brighton, and they were actually quite good. I thought the formation was like a 5-3-2 with Danilo in the centre, and they were excellent.
Yes. David's saying, is it possible to sign free agent player after the window's closed? When we signed Andre Ayew, didn't we, after the window closed? So
yeah, and Serge Aurier as well. So just basically players without a club, I believe.
Yeah. You say them anytime.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty rare you see it, but obviously we've done it in the last couple of years. But I'd probably be quite surprised if we did that. But it is an option at least. It's not like we have to wait until the next window to get anyone in. Just one more point on Sangara. Yeah, someone disagreeing with Sangar, Sangar point earlier about he's not the long-term answer. I mean, he is going to cause controversy, isn't he? Some people are going to back him. I'm in the middle, personally. I think he can still be an option for us. I think he is still a player there, but yeah, I do think he needs to show it more often. Obviously, he has been unfortunate, of course.
I just believe personally, while they're still wearing our shirt, just back all the lads. They need you. You need your support rather than criticism.
Yeah, totally. I absolutely agree with that. Have you got anything to add on this, Steve, about the midfield debate?
First thing I'd say is I would start the two of them against Exeter next week. Again, it goes back to saying earlier about letting that new boy out. This is a perfect opportunity to get their fitness levels back up, sharpness. Again, test themselves in that kind of pitch, that environment again, get a match ready again or focused. Try and get them back in because they came on Saturday and we were 5-6 up. So they had the luxury, that's Sangari especially, the luxury to kind of just, win a couple of tackles, loosen his muscles up a bit, run around a bit, put a couple, get around the pitch. So maybe start him against Exeter. As far as the midfield is concerned, though, it'd be perfect in an ideal scenario to sit Sangari in there in that hole, and then you could just push then people like Anderson forward, Gibbs White, DeLillo, just go get the ballers, Sangari and just play it off, win the interception. Like Elliot said, people should not knock Sangari's interception rates, right? He had one of the top interception rates in the beginning of the season. Now, I'm the same with the Rads. I sit in the fence with Sangari. I think he's been unfortunate. There's been some games where he's been terrible. There's been some games he's been very good. He has lacked consistency, but he's been unlucky as well. He's had AFCON, he's had malaria, he's had hamstring injuries, he's had, blah blah blah. I think if we had signed him for £5 million, not a lot of people have said much. Because we signed him for £35 million, people are straight away, get on his back. He's not worth the money. We've had him now for
has to be a prime lottery.
Exactly. And you know what I mean? He's been up against it, but it's down to him. Like Chris Wood has done, prove us wrong. And if he can do it, if he can sit in that hole, mop up and play the ball off to the people going forward. Can you imagine him just protecting that back four, which is strong enough as it is, and then just giving the ball to the likes of Anderson, Gibbs White, DeLillo, just push forward because he would be that protection. So maybe next week we will start the two of them. But they are like new signings, aren't they? They do kind of feel like new signings this month. So they can only add strength and depth on the bench. I mean, we haven't touched on the fact that Ward-Prowse now has gone back as well to West Ham.
Yeah, I mentioned that.
I feel that was unfortunately one of the... I'm not going to call him a flop because I think it's a bit harsh. I think he was just unlucky because he was doing well. He started against Liverpool. He'd go down as the starting 11. He played very well. We went to Chelsea. He took the hit for the team, and unfortunately, I think it just never got back for him. I mean, he played against Arsenal away. Arsenal were outstanding that day. He could never get back in the side because Dominguez was outstanding. Yates picked up his game. Anderson was just class. I felt sorry for him because when we signed Ward-Prowse, and Rads yourself was raving, I can't believe we signed the quality player like this. But maybe it's just, I don't know, it's just something may have been said after the Chelsea game. I know Nono did defend him, but to me, it just smelt a bit like he never really got back in. So maybe he did take one for the team, but maybe it didn't go down well. I did read reports that he did well in the dressing room, like with experience and stuff, but perhaps he just didn't fit the whole concept of the team as well. Maybe he felt a bit of an outsider. He didn't really gel. He didn't see the system. Yeah. But because it was frustrating, wasn't it? He never got that opportunity as a free kick around the box. We never got to see Ward-Prowse, even against Luton in the Cup. He didn't have one free kick around that box for him to line it up and put in top bins. You know what I mean? He just didn't have one free kick around the box. It was so frustrating. I think he had a Chelsea away. He had the free kick, which he hit to the back post. Milenkovic headed it back across and Wood scored the goal.
Yeah, he played his part there.
Yeah. It's just when I'm signings. It's just, I mean, you could run off 10 signings in the last decade, which we've signed, and we felt, oh yeah, we've got a player here. And then all of a sudden, then it's like, oh, he's not quite the same player we thought we were getting. So he's just unfortunate. It went downhill after the Chelsea game, really. So
yeah, it's a good point from Dor that he played very well in that Liverpool game for sure.
100%.
You know, I don't think he had a bad game for us. He was always a player that came in ultimately to cover Danilo and Sangaro.
I see a lot of people throwing stones at him after the Arsenal away game. But let's to be fair, come on, we could have had even Rodri in the midfield that day. Arsenal were just too good that day. Saka was just Odegaard.
There were certain times where Ryan Yates' dark arts don't work, and that was one of those games.
Yeah.
Arsenal were just too good that day, and unfortunately, Ward-Prowse was the one in the midfield, and a lot of people online saying, this is not the Ward-Prowse we signed, and why is he in the team, and blah blah blah, and
Yeah, it's a shame it didn't work. I mean, the fact that we have had a season now where James Ward-Prowse can't get in our team and we've sent him back, it says a lot. He's a very experienced midfielder, one of the most free kicks ever in the Premier League, and it just didn't quite work for him. But I've got nothing against him at all. He's still a great player. And I think he'll do well at West Ham when he goes back there. Being as I made this graphic, we have gone over the hour, but I just want to put it up because I made it. This is all the January business. A lot of outgoings. It's mainly just the fringe players that probably should be sold at this stage. That's Ebola and O'Brien and Dennis. With Balotelli going out and getting some minutes. Obviously, we mentioned the new lad from Reading, Ward-Prowse going back, and then just put at the bottom there the youth academy as well. Learned some of those out and sold them. But yeah, it's a very considered window, really, isn't it? For the future, and just giving our fringe players some minutes, really. But yeah, that's all I've really got to say on that.
I think my overall summary, right, of the window and where we at now is where we were having the 30 signings and spending millions and the chaos, the revolving door players coming in, coming out, blah, blah. We're at a stage now where the harmony in the squad, you see the morale in the squad. They've gone away on holiday now together to Dubai and so on. And you see these videos and the match day passes and all that. The morale is so high. And I agree with Nuno. You don't want to disrupt that. We wouldn't have begrudged like a top sign in this window. It just shows that he's happy with the squad. We've got strength and depth. We've got players on form. You've got players coming off the bench who are making an impact. Jota, I'm glad he scored Saturday to prove some doubters wrong after the Bournemouth game. One bad game, then was like, oh, he's rubbish, get rid of him. Come on, come on. Like, this is what winds me up about football fans. Doesn't have to be a Forest fan, just football fans in general. One bad game. Like, you telling me now, right? You go to work, everyone has a bad day at work. At least once. Out of the 5 days in the week, you have one bad day in the work. You go in the next day, you feel great again. Have a good day in work. It's the way things work. Jota has one bad game. So what? He come back, and I'm so glad he scored on Saturday. He shows he can make an impact. I think that's my overall summary is that, yes, it was a bit of a boring window, but then we can't win. When we were signing players every week, we were like, oh, this is chaos. This is too much. The turnover too high. We got too big of a squad. Now nothing happens. Everyone's like, oh, that was boring. So, what do you want? So I'm just glad we found the middle ground. And
I think it's good. I think it's a good sign ultimately. Okay, we've the striker thing we've mentioned, but the fact we're in this position, we haven't signed a senior player, and we're okay with it. Do
you know what? All right. So just say one more thing. It just shows we are more settled than Man City, and which sounds crazy to say, right? But Pep is in transition. He has just spent £160 million in 1 month, and it just shows we are settled squad. They are not. I know they got injuries, but still, it just shows that he's panicked by it now. He is seriously. Pep is worried because he's trying to transition now in January, not the summer.
I was going to say, yeah.
He knows he's playing on Saturday. He's panicking.
can I just add to that as well? Can you just imagine that at the end of last season, telling yourself we're going to be third in the league and 6 points above Manchester City without an asterisk? You would have had me sectioned.
I would have said, get this guy off the channel. You talking,
yeah, we're going to finish third in the league, and Chris Wood's going to score 17 goals. Wow, imagine that.
It is crazy. Just another point actually on City here. City spent more than the rest of the league combined. I mean, we've heard that before, haven't we? But yeah, it's a sign of how far we've come.
To be honest, right? I know we live rent free in his head, right? Arnie Slot, right?
Yeah.
Right. And I just like to say, it just showed to him in the summer. He looked at the squad and he's gone, do you know what? He signed one player, Chiesa. Do you know what? I don't need to disrupt this team. I just keep it as it is. And look where they are now.
Yeah.
They're reaping the benefit.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Nuno's doing. He's just gone, do you know what? I don't need to tamper you much. Why do it? Okay, he could have added, like I said earlier, maybe another striker, another winger, just to add a bit of something extra. But maybe there was no one out there for him. So, why change if something's not broke? So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Just to end the stream then, everyone in the chat can get involved here. Where do you think, at this current moment, where do you think we'll finish in the Premier League this season? 14 games to go. Some tough games at home, but of course they're all tough. But, we've proven we can beat anybody. That run before Christmas and during it, all teams we hadn't beaten before, and we beat all of them. So I think we shouldn't fear this run against Newcastle and Fulham. Teams, well, we beat Fulham, didn't we? We've not got the best record against Fulham. Lost the first
we've only
game.
beaten them once in 5 attempts. But...
Exactly. Yeah. Door saying third in the chat. Everyone, get your comments in the chat. Where do you think Forest are going to come? Mark's agreeing with him. What about you two, Steve, Elliot? What's your final position right now for Forest?
Steve, you can go first.
I'm going to say fifth. I just feel I'm not sort of negative because fifth is still amazing. You know what I mean? It's mad to say that on fifth is really negative. I just feel that Man City and possibly like a Chelsea, Newcastle, I think they might just be a bit too strong overall going forward. And I think we're not going to have another Bournemouth day, but I feel, I think we might not just have enough. If we get running, they have got stronger squads than us. I think they'll find their feet, and I think we'll just drop off slightly. But fifth will still be an amazing season.
Unbelievable.
Again, earlier, if you said we'd have done Man City this time last year, I'd have gone, what? After the first game of the season, let alone, you know what I mean? But I'm going to say fifth, which still will be an amazing season.
Yeah, and then Patch is actually saying here fifth. There's a strong chance it could be Champions League still. So, it might not even okay with it the third right now, but if we drop to fifth,
let's just sum it up, right? Let's just sum it up. If we don't get any form of European football this season, it's a failure. It's a failure.
Yeah.
And I'll put that out there. If we don't get even Conference League, it's a failure. Because where we are now, we cannot let it slip. And Conference League is what, 8th? 7th or 8th? I think.
7th, 8th. Yeah.
Around that. I know it's kind of a harsh word to say failure, but to me, it's been talked a lot on radio stations and pundits and so on. European football has got to be on the cards in any shape or form now, because we're on the right path. We cannot let it slip now.
Yeah. The fact that that's now
at the same time, it's
crazy.
Exactly. This is why I'm saying that word, failure. It's mad to say that. Not to get European football out of the season would be a failure. That season, our ambition was just to be 14th, 15th, 16th, just progress again. We're talking now. If we don't get European football, it's a failure. It's just mad to say that.
Totally. Yeah. So you go, Elliot. I thought you got anything to say, or
all right. Well, the thing is, what's different between this half of the league and the bottom half is we can't like last season, we were watching Luton games, hoping the team that they're playing would beat them. But this side of the league, it's like everybody sort of is more likely to win. So we've more or less got to do the same. Steve, I do agree with you. It would be a failure if we don't get Europe. However, I won't be calling for Nuno's head if we don't.
No.
So in an ideal world, it like first would be lovely, but I don't think that's going to happen because Liverpool are running away with it. But if like third to fifth would be sort of ideal for me. It doesn't really matter too much which position that is, but third, fourth, or fifth place would be brilliant for me.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying that in the chat.
Yeah,
I could put them up third, fifth for Patch, second here. That's a big shout. I mean, we were briefly second when we beat Everton.
I think we've got to beat Fulham 17-0 to get second in the next game, haven't we?
Right, easy then. Fifth, Joe says fifth, fourth from David as well. So everyone's kind of saying the same sort of thing. I'm probably going to go. I'll gladly take fifth or even Conference League, but I'm going to say fourth. In the middle. Obviously Liverpool are incredibly strong. Arsenal are, they're being criticised a bit, but I think they're definitely second. And then you can't count Chelsea out, or even Newcastle. City are still going to be in and around there, Villa. So I don't know. It's tough to maintain it, but someone else is also saying fourth here. So yeah.
Again, Rads, it's setting them statement wins out because, like you touched on earlier, we've got some big games in the coming weeks. Newcastle away, Arsenal home. I mean, you're getting points there, right? If we come out of there with 4 points in any combination, we're setting markers. That's what we've been doing this season. Take away the Bournemouth game. I know we've set every time they think, oh, this could be the game. We found a way. We found a way. Even Liverpool at home, we got a point. It was a good point in my eyes. They didn't beat us. So, we've taken 4 points off of the season. We are going to get games like Bournemouth. That happens. But if we can go to Newcastle to get a result, we proved last season we can do it. Arsenal at home. Arsenal hate coming to the City ground. Yes, they did win there last year, but Matt Turner just had an absolute nightmare. We showed we can beat Arsenal. Arsenal do not like coming to the City ground. So let's make that a real cauldron. Make a statement. Because, many people have said on various channels, we got under the radar. Just keep on knocking us. Let Arsenal and Liverpool have their 2-horse race. We beat Arsenal at home. Arsenal start going, whoa, hang on a minute now. Our second spot might not be safe here. But we've still got big games to come after that as well. It's not in the space of a couple of weeks. We got some really tough games coming up as well. But on the flip side, they know they're going to be in a tough game playing us. And that's the thing this season. It's not all about us looking, oh no, we got Villa now. No, Villa thinking, oh God, we got Forest this week. That's how far we've come. Because Elliot, what he said earlier was brilliant. And the Luton thing about last season, we were like, oh, who are Luton playing this week? Now we're going, right, who are Arsenal playing this week? Come on now, come on, Fulham, beat Arsenal. It's like, what? Like, last night, I'm cheating West Ham against Chelsea. Like, I'm like, this is mad. You know what I mean?
It is crazy. 6 points. It is a big game. It's really a big game. A little bit
the
like
Arsenal game, I would say it's bigger than the Liverpool one. That Arsenal game is bigger than Liverpool. Because Liverpool, look, even if we'd beaten Liverpool, we're not really catching Liverpool, let's face it. They're going to win the league, right? That Arsenal game is bigger. If we beat Arsenal, it'd be a bigger statement because we can fight them in tooth and nail for that second spot. If we really push it. We'd have to really push it, though. Because they'll start thinking then, because we could go level with them. We could even, go above them. They'd be like, oh, hang on now, Forest's not going away here. We're going to be that annoying little brother that never, biting your ankles, pulling at you, or, you know what I mean? It's like, trying to kick them off, go away kind of thing, it's just keep on getting these wins, putting the pressure on them. That's all we've got to keep on doing. It's really, really setting a high standard. it's going to be hard, but it's going to be an interesting ride.
It absolutely is. Yeah, perfectly said. Well, I think we've pretty much covered everything, really, haven't we? Thanks everyone for being here. Besides Elliot's fact, I haven't forgot about it. Thanks everyone for being here. Really appreciate it. I don't do streams very often, so I appreciate the fact you're all here. The next one will probably be the international break, so I always tend to do a stream then because it's a bit boring without Forest, especially this season. But Elliot, I have your time to shine right now. Your fact of the day.
Okay, so I actually told you this one in June, in January last year, but you didn't show the picture, so I'm going to be a bit naughty and rehash this one. Today's fact is there is a bus driver in Nepal that can lick his own forehead.
I remember you telling me that. Steve's outraged.
Yes, and the reason I'm laughing is because I actually know what he looks like. So this is a bus driver. If you can see here, he can touch his forehead with his tongue.
You're a gooner,
yeah, he's basically he can dislocate his jaw and he has a really long tongue, but he's a bus driver. He has been told to stop by his bus driving company as it's scaring the kids.
I can imagine. Well, I can't think of a better note to end on than that. I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, it was Bristol away, and you put a picture of Moss going, "I'm sorry, what?" But I thought I'm going to rehash it.
I remember. I just thought I don't know how to react to that, so I'll just drop an IT crowd moment. But yeah, thanks everyone for being here. I hope that was a great way to end it. Yeah. Thanks everyone. Like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Please do become a member as well if you wish to support the channel. And thank you very much to Elliot and Steve for being here. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you guys.
Nice to meet you, Elliot.
Yeah, you too, Steve.
Yeah. Thanks everyone, and up the Reds.